So good afternoon, everyone. My name is Adana Senuri Gomez. I am from Eco Engineering Consultants Limited, and I am the study manager. Thank you again to Dr. Dev for your introduction. Eco Engineering, as mentioned, is the environmental consultant for this EIA. This presentation is going to give an introduction into the EIA process. And as mentioned, it is a scientific process and it is guided by the terms of reference that were provided from or by the EMA. This is the location map of the study area, displaying the new areas to be mined within the National Quarries site. The figure that you're seeing also shows some of the communities within the area, such as Ture, Guayco, Kunapu, Sani Grande, Valencia, a little further way off. Right, so the final deliverable of this project is the actual EIA report. So the contents will include the following. The legal framework investigates all the local and international standards and guidelines governing the environmental quality, health, and safety that the project must be in compliance with. Local standards are going to be used to place these results in context. Some of the local standards that we use are the water pollution rules and the air pollution rules. And in the absence of local standards, international standards are used. The description of the project, this will provide the purpose, the justification, the details of the project, including the location, any site infrastructure, both proposed as well as existing, the project scope, emissions, potentially hazardous and non-hazardous, solid waste, liquid waste, noise emissions, air emissions, project schedule, and any staffing requirements. The description of the environment will encompass the physical, biological, and sociocultural aspects. The data collected will be considered as a representative of the study area. And the purpose of that is to allow for clear understanding of the potential negative impacts of the project by having a clear picture of what the existing conditions are. So some of the sampling that we've conducted thus far for the dry season included monitoring of noise. We did it at 4 locations. We did air quality as well at 2 locations. Water quality sampling was done as well at 4 locations. We did at 2 rivers, the Little Lesiva River and the Lesiva River, both upstream and downstream of these rivers. Soil sampling was taken at 10 locations. An ecological survey was undertaken. This is to determine the terrestrial flora. We noted any species and vegetation and fauna present, as well as benthic and aquatic surveys were done within those same 2 water courses that I just mentioned. Air quality, water quality, and ecology studies will be repeated in the wet season. CARI consultants will provide an update on the human environment in a later presentation. In terms of the analysis of alternatives, this chapter discusses the other options that were considered, including any siting, any different equipment. The terms of reference requires that the no action alternative is also considered. Simply put, the no action alternative is what if the quarrying was not undertaken. So this chapter will detail all the rationale for choosing the preferred option over the other choices. In terms of analysis of impacts, this assesses the potential impacts of the project. The impacts are classified using a structured system and considers the current baseline conditions. And the potential for cumulative impacts are also determined. Stakeholder consultation, this is currently underway with CARI consultants leading that task. This is only one of 2 meetings. This is the first public meeting, and the second one will present all the findings of the EIA. Environmental management and mitigation strategy. This is based on significant impacts that will be identified earlier in the report, and an EMP or an environmental management plan will be created. Now, this EMP will address the mitigation measures for each significant impact, as well as it will detail the responsible parties for taking the action, as well as timing and equipment. Monitoring and intervention strategy. This is essentially a monitoring plan, so it will include parameters and any monitoring frequencies of these parameters. This is to ensure that Each impact of the proposed project is monitored and measured to determine if the prescribed mitigation measure is achieving the objectives. Right, so sources of information. A combination of desktop studies, information from government agencies such as Met Office, WRA, which is the Water Resources Agency, Trans-Tobago Police Service, Trans-Tobago Fire Services, business owners, residents, and other stakeholders will provide input to the EIA. And as previously stated, project-specific studies are being conducted as well, and the dry season testing has been completed. Right, so these are some of the specialized plans required in the EIA. The grievance redress plan, the social management plan, and the stakeholder engagement plan. Those will be discussed by CARI consultants in the following presentation. The rehabilitation plan, there is an existing plan given the long and successful history of rehabilitation at the Turia Quarry site. Some of the elements of the plan includes an impact assessment, rehabilitation concept proposals, and implementation plans, rehabilitation closeout criteria, and a proposed schedule. The emergency response plan, this plan is developed based on a qualitative assessment of the quarry risk, and the qualitative assessment of the risk are associated with the operations of the quarry, and this would identify any credible risk scenarios. There will be a discussion of consequences and likelihood, and ultimately an identification of the protective measures. So the existing ERP will be updated with the procedures to respond to emergencies, incidents, and accidents associated with the activities in the new areas. The water quality management plan, this details the existing water management systems used by national quarries. It notes any discharge points and any mitigation measures being used to reduce the impact due to water quality. The stormwater management plan, this looks at the elements that may impact the stormwater runoff on the site. So the plan describes temporary and permanent measures to be implemented to ensure that there is no net increase in the peak runoff for a 1 in 25 year rainfall event from before and after the quarry expansion. The waste management plan will describe the procedures for the storage, transport, treatment, and disposal of hazardous waste and non-hazardous waste generated during all phases of the project. And the hazardous materials management plan that serves to identify all types of hazardous waste on site. It will describe the storage and holding methods and describe the final disposal of each type of waste. So this is these are some of the preliminary impacts and their suggested mitigation measures. This is preliminary. This was a preliminary identification that was done during the CC application process, and the analysis of impacts as part of the EIA that has not been started as yet. So on-site erosion, limit clearance to work areas, and replant vegetation on cleared areas in accordance with the rehabilitation plan. This is applicable both to construction and operation. That's why you see a C and an O underneath there. It's applicable to both phases of the project. Impaired air quality, this can be a result of dust or exhaust emissions. And for impaired air quality related to dust control measures need to be implemented, and such as periodic wetting of the stockpiles. In terms of impaired water quality, this can be related to either hydrocarbons spilled as well as silt migration, and the mitigation measures will be implemented in accordance with the water quality management plan. So some of the other preliminary concerns of the project include noise, altered topography, and soil contamination. Improper waste disposal, to develop and adhere to the waste management plan. Increase surface water, we adhere to the stormwater management plan, and for loss of habitat, the implementation of the rehabilitation plan. So this brings me to the end of my presentation. Thank you for your attention, and I turn it back to